Welcome to Gylee and Friends, the podcast where you hang out with your very favorite game devs and get into our shenanigans. I'm your host. I'm Chris Bergman. I'm the CEO and founder of Gylee Games. Gylee Games is a game studio where we are currently in production on Rah Rah Boom, which is a 4-player co-op beat 'em up about ninja cheerleaders from outer space. Please go wishlist it on Steam. And as always, my wonderful co-host, our producer for Gylee, Kim Edwards.
You're doing that on memorization.
I'm trying.
And I honestly, 10 out of 10.
Yeah?
Very good. Yeah. Very impressed.
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. I'm in a little jet lagged from PAX, but
Time zone didn't change.
no, but we were on a plane, so I'm jet lagged.
I think jet lag means
Does it?
like the time zone's changed and your body's adjusting to the time zone. Is that right, Drew?
Like a bird would be.
All right. Well.
Anyway, I'm really excited about our guests today.
Yeah, let's talk about our guest today.
Our guest is pretty awesome. If you don't mind, I'd like to do their bio.
Their intro?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, thank you. Our guest today is Chris Bergman, and he is the founder and CEO of Gylee Games. Chris raised his hand. I want everyone to know what happened.
That's me.
Oh, it's him.
Yeah.
He has been a tech entrepreneur for over 20 years and is also the general partner at Everywhere Ventures and a board member at Crowd Control. In his infinite spare time, he is an accomplished DJ and a music producer. Welcome, Chris.
Why, thank you.
You're most welcome. So happy to have you.
So our guest canceled on us last minute. We're not going to say who it is because we don't want to throw them under the bus.
Well, also, it wasn't like their fault.
Yeah.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, stuff happens. It's fine. Typically we'll have a guest, but like, why not meet your hosts a little bit? I guess
Yeah.
is sort of the
I think that's great.
idea.
It's a good idea. Let's know who we're talking with. All right. If you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
Can you share your story behind founding of Gylee Games? Like what inspired you to start this venture?
Yeah, man. I mean, so Gylee Games, studio based in Cincinnati. We primarily focus on character-driven games. I think that's become a pretty big, important tentpole of our studio. We like to make games that are smaller, small games with big worlds, is sort of the tagline. And I've always wanted to make games. I wanted to make games when I was a kid. So, but had to do a lot of other things first. So I had another company that was called Chore Monster back in the day, which you worked at.
I did.
Yeah. And, did the whole tech startup thing and was able to exit out of that. And then was in corporate life for a very, very short period of time.
Are you allowed to say how short?
Sure, go for it.
Was it 4 months?
It was 4 months. I managed to live in corporate America for 4 months and hated it. I was good at it.
Obviously.
Which frustrated everyone. But also my voice sounds like shit because of PAX.
Yeah. Well,
and
pre-PAX. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get into that. We'll talk about that in shenanigans. But my voice isn't this bad typically. So was in corporate America, left because I missed being an entrepreneur. And kind of kicked it around. We were living in New York at the time. And so I got an office at BetaWorks in Manhattan, where it was the same office where Two Dots was made, which is a mobile
I didn't
game.
know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
And got an office there, just hung out there for probably about half a year, wondering and like testing my waters and different things. Like, do I want to go into venture capital? Because that's something I'm also super passionate about. What do I want to do? And landed, and then I went home to my wife one day and was like, hey, I think I want to start a video game studio. And she was like, it took you that fucking long to realize that? Like, we were all just waiting for you to do it. We knew this is the thing you wanted to do. I'd been going to GDC since like 2012. I'd been going to PAX since, right around that same time. So I guess it was pretty obvious.
To everyone else.
To everyone else. Yeah. But that's scary, right? Like starting a game studio is scary. And I knew what I wanted to make. I knew I wanted to make Rah Rah Boom. I had grown up in arcades. And playing competitive Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom, and had a real passion for arcade beat 'em ups like X-Men and Ninja Turtles, because I'd get my ass kicked on the cabinets, like on the Street Fighter cabinets or whatever, and would go play those co-op games, and that's where I made my friends. And so it it was always like something that like really, I just was happy that those games existed, and it felt like a real warm way to spend time with other people. And so I wanted to make an arcade beat 'em up, and I also feel like there's not enough games with an all-female cast, and so that was really important. And then, as we got into writing the game, um, mental health became a big component of it, as I was going on my own mental health journey at the time. Grieving became a big part of it, and which I was also doing at that time. And yeah, and then I started raising money for it, or trying to figure out, where was I going to find the capital to start Gylee, and reached out to some investors that had invested in Chore Monster and really believed in me, and really believed in what I wanted to make. And they were like, well, we're going to back you. And they lived here in Cincinnati, so it made a lot of sense to move the studio back to Cincinnati, and um, could raise our kids here, which is where we grew up. And yeah, I think that answers the question.
Yeah, I think that answers all the questions. So
Oh,
that was a
great.
great,
Yeah.
nice having you.
Interview done.
Interview done.
Yeah.
You did touch on this a little bit, but what sets Gylee apart from other game studios in terms of development philosophy and approach?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. One, we try not to outsource anything, which seems counterintuitive for a lot of people. I mean, we're trying to build. It's important for us to build a studio here in Cincinnati, and so we intentionally want as many people working on the games based here in Cincinnati. Which, like, there's people have different philosophies about remote work, and I think it can work many different ways. I don't think there's one particular solution. But I like coming into the office and seeing people and working collaboratively and creatively. And, I like that we have like a hybrid model, or how would you describe it?
Yeah, I think it's a hybrid model. I think once COVID hit, a lot of companies realized that you can have that work from home and come into the office. What we do is kind of have set days that everyone comes in together, so that way we're as productive when it comes to meetings and questions and things like that. So yeah, I would agree with the hybrid model. I think that works for us, but I don't want to speak for other teams as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, for us though, it's, we're trying to grow this in Cincinnati, because it's important to have a game studio in the city, I think, and give people opportunities. So I think that sets us apart. Having high quality games is also really important. Rah Rah's a hand animated 2D game, and that bar of animation is really high for us. That bar of art is really high for us.
Yeah.
I think the music will be pretty good when it's ready. Right, Drew? But yeah, I mean, I think those are things that set it apart. I can say that it's a really collaborative. I mean, it's the CEO saying this, so maybe this isn't true, but it feels like a really collaborative culture. It feels like, it's a safe environment where people can have opinions or have thoughts and express them, and I feel like everyone's pretty constructive.
Yeah. Honestly, we were just playtesting level 5, and people were speaking up about how we could change the boss fight. So I would agree with that.
Yeah.
In what ways does Gylee prioritize diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, man. What a challenge in general, right? Like to you're dodging and weaving white males like it's snowballs.
Love it.
And so when we have an opening for a role, we definitely prioritize females and just people that aren't white males
Yeah.
in general, and have done it okay at that. I mean, I think like ideally you want to be even better than where you're at, but it's a give and take as far as like who's available, what's their talent. You know, I think one thing I can't say that everybody that works at Gylee got there on their own merit, got there by their own talent and their own work ethic, and so all of that is still, you know, pretty top priority, I would say.
Yeah.
But I feel like we have a good mix.
Yeah, I agree. And to like piggyback on that a little bit for just how inclusive we are, like we will do script readings with everybody, and it's important for us to make sure that there's always a female voice, always someone on the team that can chime in and say, does this work? Does this make sense? So I think that's something you've done since day one, which I very much appreciate. That there's not all men writing the scripts speaking for women.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
No.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, we're trying, bud. Yeah, I think that's important. And then the flip side of that, like I think what, you know, it's a challenge to be like, well, I want to make a game with an all-female cast. It's like, well, you're a white dude. What fucking context can you give to that
Yeah.
hasn't been, you know, done before? And like, I understand that frame of mind, but like, there's still characters. You know, worked with AK on the script, who she's an amazing writer. And all of the characters come from real people in my life, and or the inspirations come from real people, and you know, yeah, we want to give more people more opportunities, man, for sure.
Yeah. I love that. And I wholeheartedly agree with the way that you have that shape. So I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Aw, look at us being nice to each other.
Wholesome.
Wholesome.
This is the only episode that we're ever going to be nice to each other, I think.
Yeah, well, I think the rule is like don't berate the guest. And since you're the guest,
This is how I now know how
Now
to
you
not
know.
make you or not get you to bully me.
right. Well, just once I'm done interviewing you, though, I want you to know.
Oh, you're going to go back to bully?
Yeah,
Ken?
I'll go back to me.
Okay.
We'll do what we normally do. This is just
Which is bully Chris.
no. Everyone would agree that you start and I stick up for myself.
That
but
is
this is
not
not we're interviewing each other, so I'm gonna be nice to you.
Okay.
Um
Am I interviewing you? I'm not interviewing you.
no, let's
we'll
never
save
do
that
that.
for
We'll never do that.
we'll save it for sometime when another guest leaves us high and
Doesn't
dry.
show. Wonderful. What role does community feedback play in shaping Gylee Games' development process?
I mean, it's like some of the most important pieces of data that you could have.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've done well over 400 play tests in the office.
Just in the office, yeah.
You know, and then we just had the game out at PAX, and yeah, I think like getting that feedback's really vital to finding anything that's going to be that's going to have that stickiness
Yeah.
for fun. You know, is because everything that everything starts as a hypothesis, right? Like you can be like, hey, I think, for example, like I think putting lanes in a beat 'em up is going to make players feel better about combat because they're going to understand where they are, and it'll give us a line of sight if somebody wants to have ranged attacks across screen, right? But until you put it in a player's hands and they're able to say this sucks or this is great, like you don't know, you have no data. So I think that data is extremely important, man, and because that is what leads to iteration, that leads to a better game. And you know, there's definitely been a lot of, especially early on when we were finding the fun from a development standpoint, a lot of that feedback was really, really important. There was a lot of, you know, I remember early on being like, oh, the punches don't feel very crunchy, or you know, I don't quite know what I'm hitting, or the players feel kind of slow, right? And so you iterate over time, and like now the game's at a really fun place where we'll hear feedback, and it'll be interesting. Like we had somebody wrote an article, and like the one piece of feedback that could have been read as negative, I don't think it was intended as negative, but like was like the jumps feel floaty. And
Oh,
I'm like, yeah, that's intended.
yeah.
I'm glad you noticed that, you know, because I love floaty jumps in games.
It is
And,
fun, I have
you
to
know,
say.
so it's fun hearing feedback today where you can hear the product of iteration over time.
How did it feel early on when you got the feedback about the animation
Before we switched
before
animators,
we switched? Yeah.
it was rough, man. It was tough. I mean, we had worked on the game for a year and a half, and then Streets of Rage 4 was announced, and that art had legitimately set a new standard for beat 'em ups in general. I mean, the art was just so good and so well done. The animation was so good, and then you look at ours at that time, and just that realization that the quality wasn't there to meet that standard. And so we scrapped a year and a half's worth of art and animation and started over at a higher quality, and hired a different animator. And we got really, really lucky that we found Emiliano.
Yeah.
We got really, really lucky finding a very, very talented animator who kicks ass.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, having to make that choice was tough.
I bet
was
it.
really tough.
Yeah, that was before my time, but I feel like if I was around, it would feel debilitating. Almost like, hey, this is a fun game, but it's not going to sell.
You know, I in talking to Ryan, our art director, you know, we've had conversations, and I think it was fascinating is he was like, that moment, that decision was when I knew this was for real.
Oh, really?
And
That's interesting.
And that this will go all the way, and the game will come out, and
Yeah.
and you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it good.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, which is true. And you know, and it's a lot of people would make a different choice. They would be like, well, we've already invested this much, we're not going back, we're just going to put it out, you know, see how well it does, blah blah blah. But it wasn't, you know, it wasn't at the quality that I wanted it to be at either. So yeah.
That's awesome. I can say, especially just even within the recent build that was played at PAX, like overall feedback is I love the art, I love the animation.
Yeah.
That's a good feel for me.
For sure.
How has the gaming industry evolved in recent years, and what trends do you foresee shaping the future?
Cool. We're in a tough spot.
Yeah.
We're in a tough spot. No game is getting financed right now. Like nothing's getting financed right now.
It's scary.
Since like I'd say Q4 last year, and probably at least until June or July of this year, if you're trying to find capital for, you know, or getting a game published, trying to get a signed by publisher or whatever, man, there's none. And so I think that's like everyone's in a really tough spot as far as that's concerned. We've already seen some indie studios completely disband and just kind of give up and go to normal jobs, which is such a bummer. We're in a really lucky spot that like we signed with the publisher before it blew up. And,
Yeah.
have a great partner in Midwest Games, and you know, have our next 2 games kind of figured out for, you know, some, at least on some level, you know, and have a game releasing later this year. So I feel like we really lucked out there, and this is primarily indie games that I'm referring to, but I feel like we really, really lucked out there on our timing. Yeah, so that's games industry challenge for sure. And you see it, and you know, it has a lot to do with, I think really a lot of it is that capital is really expensive. Interest rates are really high.
Yeah.
And you know, that on top of people overspent during COVID.
Right.
There was a COVID boom for games that sort of went back to it adjusted back to where it should be, and we're seeing the results of that overspending, right?
Yeah.
Like whether it be through all the layoffs and everything like that. But the well is pretty fucking dry right now, which is tough. It's tough for everybody, man. Hopefully that'll shift over time. I really would like to see studios getting acquired again. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's M&A is really good for the industry. The Embracer thing was like really weird and tough, and but then you're seeing, Toys for Bob, which was under Activision. Activision had
With them.
bought them a long time ago. And they make Spyro and Crash Bandicoot and a couple other games. Uh, they spun out. They made Skylanders, which is like my kids loved that game.
Oh,
That
really?
was
I
the
don't know that
first
one.
game that my son beat to finish, like
Oh,
like
that's
actually
awesome.
completed. But they, instead of, with the Microsoft acquisition, Microsoft's like, well, you're done as a studio. We don't need you. And then Toys for Bob was like, well, let's spin out and find a way to go independent and keep it going. And they did. And then Microsoft like found a good way to support them. And so like I think you're going to see a lot of I think you're going to see some interesting publishing deals that are unique and not normal. Right now I'm putting together some capital to prototype a game that I want to make, and we'll probably do that differently than I would have done a normal prototype deal. Um, so I think people are getting more scrappy, and that can be good. I mean, it's not all good, but there can be some good that can come from that. So
Yeah,
that's my take.
that's a good hot take. I would love to piggyback on yours, where I feel like the COVID thing, there was just a big hiring and then unfortunately layoffs, where like you were smart, where I wouldn't say lean necessarily, because that to me, when you say lean, it makes you think that you don't have enough resources, but we definitely aren't overstaffed in that capacity.
No, we are far from
Yeah,
overstaffed. Yeah.
which is smart. Like like even though there's an influx and people are playing games, like I think that's part of the problem with the layoffs right now, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that, and that ebb and flow is normal for businesses, unfortunately. As the result of capitalism or whatever you want to blame it on. People tend to hire too much and then have to cull it over time, and that's just a regular thing that happens, man. Unfortunately for everybody, it's tough.
Yeah. Well, what advice would you give to an aspiring game developer looking to enter the industry or start their own game studio?
Oh, I mean, those are two very different things, I think. So
Yeah,
inspiring a
break it
game
down.
developer, build your fucking portfolio, man. Like, go to game jams all the time, make small games, like show your output. I don't care what school you went to. I typically barely look at a resume. I don't pay a ton of attention to it.
I
What
do.
what I care about though is like what you've made and your ability. I think a dev, it kind of depends on what the role is, right? So like if you're on the more the engineering side, you're gonna have to pass tests, code tests, and so getting good at that I think is important. But and you're gonna have a better opportunity than most other people as far as getting into games. Um, uh, Learn Unity, learn Unreal, pick one. You know, and I think everyone in games should have some familiarity with Unreal or Unity. Audio guys need to know Unity on some level,
Yeah.
right, Drew? Um,
Drew talks.
uh, and if you're an artist, work on your fucking portfolio, man. That's what's selling you. I think
And
there's
have a portfolio.
and have a portfolio. I think setting your expectations is another piece of it. I've met a lot of guys and gals coming out of college expecting a job in the games industry. And it's like, dude, you're going up against people that have 10 years of experience, like for the same job.
Yep.
You know, it's going to take a while. It took me 20 years to start a game studio, you know, like I think that part is, I think it's if you're young, you don't realize how long it takes to get good at something. And if you're 21, the likelihood you're going to be great at animation or great at character concept art is low.
Yeah.
Or that you're going to be better than somebody else that could do the job, right? And so setting those expectations, it takes a long time to get into the industry. It takes a long time to get into the industry. Keep working on your craft. Get better at your craft. So that I would say, and then portfolio. Like always be working on stuff. Always be working on stuff. Always be making stuff better. Take whatever opportunities you can, because it's going to benefit you long term. And then if you're starting a game studio, that's a whole different thing, man. I mean, I think a lot of people, I love being a CEO of a studio. Like there's a lot of aspects of the business side that a lot of people fucking hate.
Yeah. Do you want to get into that?
Sure. What do you mean?
So I think one of the things that we always say that we can never do that you do is the fundraising aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think that, in my opinion, is one of the hardest things to do, and you're very good at it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a CEO, your number one job, your number one priority, the thing that matters more than anything else in your role is to never run out of money. And a lot of kids that want to start game studios that's not their motive. Like they don't enjoy that part of it, and that's such a bulk of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's such a core component of running a studio is having capital come in, maintaining payroll, and juggling that payroll,
Yeah.
right? Like it, all of these business things that have nothing to do with game development, really. I think if you want to start a studio, you learn to love that shit. Learn to love that shit because it's a suck, and it's going to always be a suck. And then get good at pitching your game, get good at telling the story about your game, get good at your elevator pitch, get good about controlling a meeting and controlling a pitch. Like all of these things that are required to get a game made that don't have anything to do with making the game, I think are really, really important. Really, really important. I'm in a really interesting role, I feel like, where, I'm kind of the game director, the creative director, and then the CEO, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the games that Gylee puts out, at least right now, come from my brain. But like, I don't see that always being the case. Like I very much could see, a game being made from somebody else's vision on the team.
Yeah.
Like that's not a completely exclusive thing at all, because I mean, man, I would love to just sit back and
Right.
worry about the fundraising and not worry about, the creative vision of a game. But unfortunately for me, I absolutely love that aspect too and can't stop. I've too many I don't want to say good ideas, too many marketable ideas.
Yeah.
Right? Or ideas that could actually, be successful.
I can see that. You're also just a very creative person as well.
Yeah, I have a lot of bad ideas too, don't get me wrong.
Well,
I really wanted to make a game about vampire princesses, and
okay,
I
yeah.
think that's a bad idea.
Why is that a bad idea?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't. I was here for it.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a little bit of Adventure Time. I can't remember who the character is.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, well, thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you, co-host.
This was fun. It was great to get to know you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know me at all.
Nope. I don't have to be nice to you after this.
Well, Now I have to go back into host mode and
Yep.
not be a guest. Why don't we take a quick break? And then when we come back, we'll get into gaming news.
And then it went like 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, if it's glass, yeah, you're gonna shatter it. Battle your battles, you gotta tell it how to the cure. You can breathe underwater. Won't you teach me how to do it? Yeah, I wanna take a swim, bring me with you one time. We can fly if you take me under your wing. But let me do my thing. And then it went like hey, hey, hey. 5, 6, 7, 8. If it's trash, yeah, you're gonna take it out. Handle it rapidly, got the magic, you got it for sure. Make it nice, yeah, I'll bring the good vibes. Gotta win if you let me into the race. But I'ma do it my way. And then it went like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Through the magic of time travel, you probably barely even knew that we left. Kim, are you ready to talk some gaming news?
I am so ready to talk about gaming news.
Let's talk gaming news. I'm very excited about this first thing.
Are you really?
Yeah. Today at 11 a.m. Eastern, a new game called Marvel Rivals was announced. I'm very excited.
Tell me why.
Okay. It is a new team-based multiplayer hero shooter starring the superheroes and supervillains of the Marvel Universe. It's on the way from Marvel and NetEase Games. It's called Marvel Rivals, and it will pit 2 teams of 6 heroes against each other on the battlefields like Asgard and Tokyo 2099 that are built around destruction by a team composed of developers who worked on the Call of Duty and Battlefield franchises. Basically, it is Marvel Overwatch. And my kids are going to lose their goddamn minds. They don't know about it yet. Like
Oh,
they don't,
seriously?
because they're not. I mean, they're not, like not on Twitter.
They're
or
not
anything.
reading
Like,
the
how
news
are
in the
they?
morning?
Yeah, they're not going to read the gaming news. So I get to just like, I'm just going to like cold, like, show the trailer to them.
Oh.
And be like, hey, look. I'm very, very excited for this. I know you're not much of a gamer. Does your
It's not
husband
my
play?
genre.
God, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
Does your
Yeah.
husband
I'm glad
play
you checked yourself
Overwatch?
on that one. No.
He plays games. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah.
I know.
It's not like, oh, you're a
Like,
girl. You don't
you're
play
a girl.
games.
Do you know a male that likes video games? No, he's not. It's not really his thing either. To be honest with you, I do love the concept. There's definitely a need for it, and I can see people definitely paying money to play this.
Yeah. So it's gonna be free to play.
Oh.
The 18 heroes and villains are confirmed for the roster so far: Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Groot, Hulk, Iron Man, Loki, Luna Snow, Magic, Magneto, Mantis, Namor, Penny Parker, Rocket Raccoon, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, Storm, Star-Lord, and the Punisher. They're still fine-tuning some of the game's rules, particularly around picking characters and the restrictions that will apply to each team. Details on game modes are forthcoming, but interested players will get a taste of Marvel Rivals in May when the game's alpha test is expected to launch.
I have to say that roster is badass.
That roster's insane.
Yeah. There isn't one name in there that I'm like, nah. No, it's all good.
I'm not. I was gonna try to toss that, but it's just
Yeah.
gonna be awful.
It would be
But I
just
am gonna
floor
crack a new
canned. Okay. I'll be quiet.
one. Ready? Mm-hmm. Set. How was that? Chris. Yeah.
Ah.
Nice. This game format's so ripe for Marvel characters. Like it, and I think I think the timing's really good because Overwatch 2's lost a lot of their player base. They've burned a lot of their player base. And so super, super hyped for Marvel Rivals. I'm curious to see, because it's NetEase. Are you familiar with NetEase?
I am not.
So NetEase is a Chinese developer that tends to make free-to-play games that are somewhat what's the word I want? They take advantage of people
Okay, I was wondering why your voice kept going up.
a little bit.
Okay.
So we'll see. But NetEase, I also feel like NetEase has done some better stuff lately. I know they did the Diablo 3 mobile game.
That's
or
a
the
cool
Diablo
game.
Immortal mobile game. And that was really fun to play. So we'll see. I'm hyped for sure, and also a little wary, of what the monetization mechanics for this
Yeah,
thing is going to
I
be.
could see that. Yeah.
Primarily because if my kids like it, I'm fucked. Because, a Marvel skin, you just got to dump the cash into it. Man.
You do that. You let them. Do they get like limits? How do you do that as a parent?
In regards to buying skins and stuff.
Yeah, I'm just genuinely
Well,
curious.
they're purchasers of Fortnite skins pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Uh,
So is my husband, by the way,
I love that.
and I can't control that. So
He has his own
yeah,
disposable
he's got his
income.
own disposable income.
Yeah, I mean they're in moderation for sure. I have been known to offer it as a reward if to get them to do something that they don't want to do.
Do you gamify chores?
I do gamify chores.
Nice.
Crazy. Wish somebody made an app about that.
Right.
And then every now and then they'll just be like, Dad, I really want this one. And it'll be so a couple things happen. That'll happen. They're really good about not doing that often.
You got good kids.
Like maybe once every 2 months or something, 2 or 3 months, right? And it's typically tied to a Fortnite event or something that's significant. It's like, yeah, I get that. I understand that. The other thing is they know when a skin comes in Fortnite that I think is dope.
Oh.
So like any X-Men character,
yeah.
they'll just be like, Dad, there's an X-Men character. And I'll just be like, all right, here you go.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, but it's all in moderation. I mean, they both are part of, there's like a monthly subscription where you get a battle pass and you get extra skins and all that stuff, and that really tides them over for the most part.
Okay.
But their skin, their Fortnite skin collection is probably as good as my sneaker collection.
Oh shoot, that says a lot.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. So, but now we're gonna have to have a Marvel Rivals skin
Yeah.
collection, which is concerning.
Understandable. But just know that either later today or tomorrow morning, you're going to be the cool dad showing the trailer to them for the first time.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff to show them. I'm sitting on some stuff. There's also a short film released today. I can't remember the title of it, but it's based off of Across the Spider-Verse. Like it's a Miles Morales short film.
Seriously?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to have to find
The
this.
Spider Within, maybe. Is
Really?
what it's called. But it came out today. I'm excited to check that out with them.
Well, I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. I
Yeah,
did not know this.
it looks really good.
That is what it's called.
The Spider Within.
Spider Within, the Spider-Verse story.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So how great is that?
That's really cool.
Yeah. So
Why aren't we talking about that in gaming news?
Because it's not gaming news.
Kind of.
It's film news.
I don't care. I'm
We're not
excited.
a film. We're not a film podcast.
We'll just
Kim.
wait till my news comes up. Has
Oh,
nothing
fuck.
to do with video games.
Okay, so I have one more on my side. This one's pretty quick, but I found it interesting. I ended up not going to GDC this year because I got sick, which is
do you
a bummer.
regret it? Yeah.
GDC is like definitely like the thing I look forward to the most every year. GDC and Lost Lands are my two favorite things.
He's pointing to a sweatshirt for all the people listening.
I don't. It's right there. Lost Lands. Are like the two tentpoles in my year for sure, and I love it because when you're hanging out with other game devs,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that you reconnect with that I only see. It's the only time I see them.
I agree.
Every year. There's and it just revitalizes the passion for making games in me. Not that I need it, but like it it energizes the fuck out of me.
Heck yeah. I think it's my favorite out of all the conventions.
How many
That's
have
my
you
favorite.
been to?
I don't know. I just not
like
not
3 or
nearly
4?
at more than that, but nowhere near
Really?
as many as you. Well, because it's about 3 years now. So as soon as I started working at Gylee, we were just going to conventions.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, but didn't get to go this year, so I was kind of bummed about that. But I'm always looking forward to announcements that come out of GDC.
Yeah.
Technology and announcements specifically. There wasn't a whole lot. It was pretty quiet.
I thought that was weird too.
The one thing that did come out, Epic had a whole presser and showed off some of their AI technology in Unreal, which is crazy. And
I haven't seen that.
and-
I'll have to look at it.
and really cool. But I actually couldn't find a news story on it.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well, that's fine.
but the news story that I did find, and it's just a quick blurb, but Epic's Game Store is coming to Android and iOS by the end of 2024.
That's exciting.
So that's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, the product of Epic winning their lawsuit against iOS.
Yeah, I would agree.
A couple years ago, last year.
Last year?
And I find it fascinating. So like as of right now, so I had thought the only way to download an app in Apple's, so I'm unfamiliar. So Android, you can like sideload. There's a bunch of different ways to like get apps onto your phone, right? Like Android
Yeah.
is really flexible. Apple's a very closed system, and the only way to like get an app on your phone was through the Apple App Store, right? You'd have to go in, you'd have to search for the app or game that you wanted, and then download it from there. And Epic Games is saying, well, we're going to have an Epic Game Store app on the phone, and then you go into the game store, and then you buy your game through the Epic Game Store.
I didn't realize that's what they were. Well, that is exciting.
And I was like, is there any precedent for this prior? There is.
Oh, there is.
And it's Netflix. So I was like, so Netflix is already publishing their own games that are free if you have a subscription to Netflix. Hades is one of them right now, which is crazy. If you have never played Hades and you have a Netflix subscription, fucking go download that game. But it was, so it occurred to me that like Netflix, and I actually hadn't used Netflix's games service at all.
I
yet.
have.
Like,
I thought once you go to the, and I could be wrong, but when I do it, I think I go to the Netflix app,
yeah.
download it, and then it takes me to
The Apple
Apple's
App Store. And then you see Hades by Netflix.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's free.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So it's fascinating the way that they bypassed the Apple App Store, because you're still going to the Apple App
Yeah.
Store, but it's its own SKU. It's separate from like a Hades SKU.
Oh, okay. I didn't
And so
register.
that's how they figured that out.
Okay.
And I guess Epic Game Store is going to do the same thing or something similar.
It's way easy.
So it's
honestly.
interesting because like I also care a lot about sort of onboarding and
Same.
pipeline and
Yeah. UX,
user experience
yeah.
and so it's fascinating that like the way that they distribute the games that they're distributing or publishing or whatever is by having a separate SKU specifically for that store. And it's still, because it's still, the mechanism is still, you're still downloading it through the Apple App Store. It's just a different SKU that's free or it requires a subscription. So the Hades game, and I'm just using that as an example. They have a bunch of games in the Netflix game service, Netflix platform. I don't know what they're calling it, but the game, you download it, and then when you open the executable up, it checks to see if you have a subscription.
Yeah.
And you have to log in, and then you get to play the game.
Okay.
So
That
it's
makes
interesting.
sense. That's
It-
cool.
And I think, and this is truly a credit to Epic and Tim Sweeney. It has dismantled a decent chunk of Apple's stranglehold on their platform. Right?
That's honestly, that's amazing because I'm sure that's not an easy feat.
No. Like you remember, I don't even know. So when we started Chore Monster, I don't know if you were working with us then. This is like, we published that app in the very first version of that app in 2012, 2013, something like that.
Oh wow.
And we had started with a subscription service, but Apple delisted our app
No, I didn't know this.
when they saw that we had a subscription service, and they're like, they told us you can't have a user leave the Apple environment to put their credit card information in and subscribe somewhere else. Right.
Because they wanted to monetize?
And
What was their
so
reason?
And at this point, so now they have subscription, they have the toolkit for subscriptions. Like, it's easy. Back then they didn't. So the only way that you could do a subscription if you had an app in the Apple App Store in like 2012 was it was a one-time purchase for the user, and then the next month the user would have to go through that same purchase process
Oh, no.
and repurchase the month.
Who's going to do that?
Right.
That's annoying.
So that's when we went free.
Okay. That
As we're
well,
like,
this makes
we
sense.
can't, like, and the vast majority of our users were on Apple. So like we could not maintain a subscription at the time because Apple's like, no, you can't let a user leave
Yeah.
to pay you.
Yeah.
That has since changed.
Yeah.
And I think that's somewhat due to the Epic lawsuit. I believe if you get a Netflix subscription, you can leave the App Store and do it somewhere else.
Can't
whatever.
confirm.
So yeah, fascinating. And I think what's most interesting about it is like just seeing how these ecosystems evolve over time. And now they're definitely getting more complicated.
Yeah.
You have it's the house of cards gets taller and taller, right? Like you have now you have multiple storefronts inside the ecosystem, and then what does quality assurance look like across those storefronts? It's gonna be tricky from a user standpoint, man. Like I'm curious to see, like with Epic doing this, putting their game store on Android and iOS, like what is the ROI that they're going to get from doing that?
Yeah. That was cool. It's a good experiment. And Netflix has paved the way for them too, which is helpful.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those are my two
Those are yours.
my two bits of gaming news. Now we also have a segment that we call Kim's Pick,
Because I don't like video games.
because
No, I was
Kim
kidding.
doesn't like gaming news at all.
I just can't relate to it. As a producer in video games, I don't play video games. So
You play a decent chunk of video games.
I think, well, now I feel compelled, especially like comparing and testing and stuff like that.
But you have a Kim's Pick today.
I do have a Kim's pick. First of all, I've gotten feedback that that my picks are not very happy. So I tried to not pick anything weird or negative.
I'm glad P. Diddy isn't a part of this Kim's. You have a Kim's Pick.
I do have a Kim's pick, unrelated to gaming news, more likely because it affects us here in Cincinnati, but as like a larger scope of people, there is a total solar eclipse that is coming on April 8th. Well, I'm not encouraging this, but what I learned from this particular article that I pulled was if you're in the totality zone, like the total totality zone, you can look
Total
direct.
Totality.
Yeah, it's not.
That's
Don't
the
say.
name of my next game.
Total totality. You're able to look directly at it. I'm not telling anyone to do this.
All right, Donald Trump.
Okay, listen. Okay.
Do you remember
What
that
is a
last
total-
eclipse? He looked directly at it.
Yeah, he did.
There's like
He
a
did. There's like
picture
a
of him
whole
being like,
meme of him doing it. It's ridiculous. It is. Okay. So what is a total solar eclipse? Because that's what's going to happen on April 8th. It's a solar eclipse occurs when the moon and itself between the earth and the sun.
is great for
I'm
audio
showing
people.
I'm showing everyone. It's shielding the solar surface for view. And what I didn't realize, because I was like, well, how's that work? Because the size of the moon and the size of the sun. And it's basically the distance between the two. So let me read some factual information. In cosmic terms, it is unusual that it happens. The moon is about 400 times smaller than the sun, but it is about 400 times closer to us. That means when these two celestial bodies align, they appear to be the same size in the sky, which is why it's super freaking cool. Partial solar eclipse happened when Earth and Moon and the Sun are perfectly aligned, and the Moon only obscures a chunk of the Sun. And this will occur 2 more times in 2025. But this one is different for April 8th.
Because this is a totality.
This is well, yeah. So how dark will it be during the eclipse?
Ooh.
This is way helpful. In any given place along the eclipse path, the event will last around 2 hours or more, which I find interesting. I'll get into that.
That's not what I've heard.
Well, hold on. The event will commence with a partial solar eclipse as the moon takes a small bite of the sun's edge, then consumes more and more of its surface, according to NASA. And this can last anywhere from 70 to 80 minutes. The phase of the eclipse where the moon has completely blocked the sun's surface is called the total totality. So that's different. So that
It's just called the totality. It's not called the total totality.
yeah, it's called, I keep saying total. It really is called totality. That's your totality zone. And the only time this event can be viewed with the naked eye. It is said in this article.
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
encouraging that though.
Yeah.
Because like, how do you know when it's completely,
Our
you
first
gotta,
episode's going to get taken down.
I know, you got to look up to know if it's completely covered. So like, you got to look up with glasses. You know what I'm saying? Here's what you need to know, Chris. The length of the totality varies by location. In April, some places will experience this phase for more than 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It's 4
Others may 1 to 2 minutes. So that's basically what they're saying is the entire time why it's like slowly.
Like the whole process.
Yeah.
Word.
Because like as we rotate, we're not. I think it's really cool. And we happen to be in a totality and we have a few employees
We're
are like
we're about 40
right.
minutes from a totality.
Yeah.
Like you get a 40-minute drive from the totality, right where we are right now.
Yeah. But we will experience this eclipse.
Significantly,
Yeah.
Yep.
So
That's exciting.
yeah, I think it's cool.
Great news, Kim.
Thank you, Chris. Hey, how's your life? Have you gotten in any shenanigans?
Is it shenanigan time?
I think it is.
We went to PAX East
We did.
with your husband.
With my husband.
It was great.
I think it was great. He had so much fun. Like, seriously.
So we showed Rah Rah Boom. We had a full arcade. Midwest Games had a booth, and so we had a full arcade machine for Rah Rah Boom
It was cool.
on the expo floor. Not your first PAX East, his first PAX East.
Mm-hmm.
What's his takeaways for his very first PAX East?
He's very much into like D&D and
He's a fucking
the
huge
cosplay.
nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's amazing. And into cosplay and stuff like that. So he was
Huge
just
sexy nerd. My bad.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Thank you. He was just like really impressed with all the cosplay, like taking pictures of people, like really experiencing the floor and getting to see what's coming out. And I think when you see it from afar, you don't realize how big it is and how comprehensive and how many
Overwhelming.
different, it's quite, and smelly, how smelly it is. And you got to experience all of that.
All 5 senses were
All
engaged.
5 senses. Do not go on the skywalk. Whatever you do.
It's like walking into a hall of farts.
Oh my God. It's the worst. It's a hot hall of farts too.
Yeah.
Hot, steamy hall of farts. Don't go on the skywalk. Ever.
Yeah.
Ugh.
How was your experience? How'd you like having the game there?
That was huge because that was the first time that we've had that arcade cabinet with all 4 players set up that way. And to see families play was so cool. Like moms, dads, kids, everyone playing together. It was just really cool to see. And the floor itself for PAX was bigger for the indie games than it has been in the past. And it was received so well. Like everyone absolutely like loved the indie games area. They're very patient. They understood like, hey, these are still games in progress. And it was so, I don't know, I was like overwhelmed, which is why I wanted to go on the skywalk and see it as perspective. And
Like a top-down perspective.
yeah, and I kind of regret that. But still, it was cool to see.
I feel like Midwest Games really kicked ass at,
Oh, yeah.
at manning the booth and
I agree.
making everyone feel welcome and
Made
showing off the game.
our jobs a lot easier, honestly.
Yeah. That was weird.
It was super weird because we weren't having to stand there and be like, hey, would you like to play Rah Rah Boom?
Yeah.
None of that.
Yeah. My voice was shot the whole time.
Yeah, until the last day.
It wasn't as bad last day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun.
It was
It
fun.
was really fun. I loved hanging out with your husband.
He had fun.
He's
He
one
likes
of my favorite people.
same.
He reminds me of Chris. If you watch this is a compliment. I hope it comes across that way.
Don't say it then.
He reminds me of like, when a toddler is like running around and like will just say whatever to a stranger or like ask for a hug from a rando. Like that's kind of his vibe.
Yeah, like when you have the cute kid that just comes up and says hi to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see
he has
it.
that energy.
I see it.
He has toddler energy.
He's an extrovert introvert though.
Yeah.
So like he was showing his extrovert, and then when we'd get back to hotel,
He
he
was
was like,
dead.
yeah.
But he always sat in the front in Ubers
Yeah.
and like would chat the driver up the whole time.
Which was great. Yeah.
hear their whole life story.
Yeah.
Definitely some extrovert.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
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 Yeah. It was fun. That was the first convention I've been able to go with him, and it was a treat.
Was it a good bonding experience for you two?
I think it was a good bonding experience because like he plays video games and I make them, so we never really had like, I don't know, we play some video games together, but
Yeah.
not really. So it was like cool to kind of have like a
Was he proud of you? That your game was on the show floor?
definitely. He
Yeah.
was. I should have given him my business card because he was wheeling and dealing. He was like, "Oh, do you know my wife? She makes video games." I was like, "Oh, hi. I have food in my mouth. Hi, who are you?" Like it was great. I loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
great. He's a hype man, honestly.
He was a very good hype man.
Yeah.
Very good hype man for Gylee in general.
Yeah.
And very, very good hype man for you in particular.
Yeah, I agree. And you.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
as
But
your husband,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
a good hype man for you.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
thanks.
Yeah.
What about any other shenanigans, Chris?
Other shenanigans. Well, I missed GDC. Like I said, I would
Yeah.
love going to GDC. I am going to Excision tonight, which is very, very exciting, which is why I'm wearing my Lost Lands hoodie. Excision. It's Excision, Ray Volpe. What did I say? Excision's Ray Volpe, Atlians, and Drink Your Water, I think is the other one. I'm not familiar with them. But
I don't either.
it is very, very, I don't know, hard dubstep. Would you call it that, Drew?
Rhythm, maybe?
Yeah, definitely rhythm-ish.
Yeah.
But his production is like top tier fucking world class.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the second that we stop recording, I'm headed down there and
That's really cool.
Very, very, very excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you've been hyped up. You were posting some stuff on your socials about like just old school stuff. Like
Huh?
I saw some stuff on your Instagram they were posting, like a picture
Oh,
of
that's
you.
my recommendations.
Oh.
That's part of my. We're not there yet.
Oh, well, I just thought like in general, that's all your things that you've been hyped up
Yeah, yeah.
for.
I mean, I haven't been to a show. Well, I went to Sudden Death, but that was pretty. That was fine, I guess. I don't know. But this.
you said it's fine.
Sudden Death was fine.
Where
Like,
was
it
that? Was that here
Bogarts.
too? Oh, okay.
Which is part of the problem. Like Bogarts isn't a great.
yeah, that's why I
it's
went.
Not
Oh,
a great
okay.
venue to hang out in.
I went to saw Girl Talk in Bogarts, and it was dope. By the way,
Yeah.
that's the only one.
I
that-
saw the one time I saw Girl Talk was at a private E3 party for Sony,
That's cool.
and there were 30 people there,
What for Girl Talk?
and they were all standing around like, and he went he had streamers
He
going
always
out. He
goes
went
hard.
so hard. I just remember, and I was like the only one vibing. That was funny.
That's hilarious.
How about you, Kim? Any other shenanigans that you're looking forward to?
We have opening day for the Cincinnati Reds tomorrow, and
Yeah.
since we live and work downtown, I'm actually very excited.
It's like a holiday here.
It is, yeah, it's an unofficial holiday, is what I like to call it. Mostly because the streets shut down, you can't really get anywhere.
Also true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And the parade literally goes in
it's
front of our
right.
office. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes all down the street, past our homes. It's amazing. So most people take the day off for it just to celebrate. And I don't know how many people go to the game, but there's like a lot of people that
It's usually sold out.
okay,
So whatever
That
that
watch,
is,
like-
40,000, 50,000,
Okay.
something like that.
they'll watch the parade, and then they might go watch the game somewhere else,
Yeah.
or however that works. But it's fun in Cincinnati. It's one of my favorite
fun.
Cincinnati things.
Yeah, we'll sit in front of my comic book shop, which has this storefront where you can like just watch the parade
Oh.
inside. It's warmer because it's not going to be
Oh yeah, it's
too
gonna be.
warm tomorrow.
Why are you whispering into the
and
mic?
then we'll go to Stillhouse after,
That'd be
which
fun.
they'll have the game on.
Because of the cheese food. What was the cheese thing?
Oh, Mike's
Elijah was-
making chopped cheese.
Oh,
Yeah.
chopped cheese.
We're gonna have some
You know what
chopped
chopped cheese is?
Yeah,
Drew?
every time I've been to New York, one of my
Yeah.
friends is like,
Our buddy Mike, I don't know if you met him. Our buddy Mike's from Brooklyn.
Oh, is that
Do you
why?
not know that?
No.
He has a thick Brooklyn accent. It's like, what's up, yawns?
That is not. Is it a thick? I don't know. The next time I talk to him, I'll have to. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. This is all
He's-
blowing my mind.
One of the players, if you watch us stream the game on Steam,
Oh yeah.
he's one of the players
showed
that
up.
plays one of the characters
Yeah.
in the stream. He's a good dude.
He just like we needed him, and he just like rounded the corner, and it
Yeah.
was awesome.
He's
Anyway,
a neighbor.
for anybody who doesn't know what chopped cheese is, it's not just chopped cheese. There's meat in it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's like a hamburger helper.
Yeah.
Sloppy Joe Burger.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like
I can't
why
wait.
am I the only person that doesn't know what this is?
Because you're not cultured enough.
Okay, I was like, is it like hanky panky? And everyone's like, eh.
It doesn't have the spicy sausage aspect of
Oh,
hanky panky.
okay.
Love me hanky. God, I want
Same.
hanky
Sorry.
panky so bad
Anyway,
right
I was confused about chopped cheese. That's all.
now. Kim,
Oh yeah.
do you have any recommendations for our audience in regards to entertainment? of
Yeah.
any sort.
Any sort.
Yeah.
Well, those 90s kids, I have to recommend watching Quiet on the Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV. It's a 5-part documentary on HBO Max
About.
about behind the scenes for like Nickelodeon's like most famous shows, like the Amanda Show and things like that. And it talks about specifically the creator and producer, Dan Schneider, and how problematic he was and how those kids were mistreated, and kind of just opens your eyes a little bit on why those kids are the way they are today and
What a
how you
fucking
shouldn't.
depressing recommendation.
It's great. I love documentaries though.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
Yeah.
I binged it. Like I loved
Couldn't
it.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor Drake though.
I
Yeah.
know. That was my takeaway too. And like I didn't know any of that. Like he was pretty quiet about it. So the fact that he got up there and talked about it, like I can't even imagine. Like you got to watch it if you haven't watched it.
I
I
haven't
chills.
watched it. I mean, I've heard enough from it.
Yeah,
Man.
it's a lot. But also just like
I think
It's an-
what's frustrating the most, if I may,
Yeah, go
is
ahead.
like there's still fucking predators today
Yeah.
that are
that was my point. Yeah.
doing the same shit.
Uh-huh.
You know,
In all industries. Like this
Yeah.
music,
definitely entertainment more than
Yeah.
anything else. But like even corporate America, like there's, shitty predators.
Oh,
doing-
yeah.
like
Well,
like
1000%.
abusing their power and
Yeah.
their control.
I was talking about predators on another podcast. I think I do. I'm a
You have
downer.
a fixation.
I'm afraid of everything.
Yeah,
I should be though.
you're like an alien fixated on the predator. Did get
Chris,
that
do you have
joke?
any recommendations? That
On board.
no,
Throw a laugh track.
no.
I have a couple of recommendations.
Do you?
Kimberly? The first one, I'll do these out of order.
Okay,
First one's I started playing Dragon's Dogma 2.
how is it?
I'm only like an hour and a half ish in.
Okay, that's a good start.
It's an RPG, man. I got my pawn, my first pawn. I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes. It feels really nice. It looks really good. Everyone's saying really good things about it. It's like I was like very excited to dive in, and then literally, I think the same day or the day after that it released, they also released Horizon Forbidden West. I think is right. Am I
I don't
saying
know what
that
that
right?
is.
Horizon Dawn Forbidden West, I think. Yeah. A Sony game that I loved the first one of and never got to play the sequel. This is the sequel. and it just released on PC and Steam. But they released on the same day, so I'm like, dang it, I have to make it. I have to. It's
Oh,
like
poor you.
Anyway, so that Dragon's Dogma 2, I'll come back and report back on how it's going.
Okay.
I also have a 90s recommendation.
Mm.
X-Men 97, baby.
Go
The X-Men
on.
animated series is back. It is real fucking good.
What's it on?
Disney Plus.
Okay.
Real fucking good. So I grew up watching it as a kid. My kids had no interest in watching the old 90s X-Men cartoon.
I get it.
And then were willing to sit down and watch the first 2 episodes of the new series. And they fell in love with it too. And it is great.
Aw.
And it is so so over the top an allegory about like the criticism, the discrimination that the queer community has,
Really?
and they just executed it really well,
That's cool.
and I absolutely love it, and all the characters I love, and I love the style of animation, and I love the art, and the color palette is distinctly 90s and wonderful,
Okay.
and it was just everything I hoped. You know, you never know when it's coming out, like this beloved thing from my childhood coming
Yeah.
back. You never know if it's going to be good or not. And it is phenomenal. Highly, highly recommend. Highly
Okay.
recommend.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. Kids loved it too. Wife loved it too. She hadn't seen it yet. So
Nice.
it was good.
Something for the whole family.
X-Men 97. Watch it. It's incredible. And then the last thing that I'll recommend, last weekend, Metro Boomin and Future's new album, We Don't Trust You, came out, and it is a fucking banger. It is phenomenal. It is like the kind of album that you want to kick off the summer with. It's great. Travis Scott's on it. Kendrick is on it. He has a verse where he destroys Drake and J. Cole.
I didn't know there was beef, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh,
That's
there's
cool.
real beef.
Yeah?
Here.
Everyone knows about the beef. I didn't know about the beef.
Yeah, my
I do
TikTok
now.
is just all Kendrick Drake beef.
Really?
now. Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited.
Yeah. As like an urban white kid, I love this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Understand.
But it's a really good album, man. I love
Yeah.
Metro Boomin.
Yeah. That's what I saw you posted on your Instagram and Twitter with that. And I remember that.
What?
You posted Metro Boomin with you standing next to him, right?
Yeah. We've hung out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
Where's the little counter?
that was
Does that count? Does
No,
Metro Boomin
I
count?
said it. I'll give you this one.
But he trusts me.
But I do remember.
He was great. We had him out for FounderCon,
Uh-huh.
Techstars FounderCon
Yeah.
after party. We had Metro Boomin come out and DJ.
I had to
And perform.
lug all that DJ shit.
Yeah. And it was an absolute blast. It was so fun. He's so nice, like very extremely nice dude.
That's so cool.
Let my drunk ass jump up and down on stage next to him while he was performing with champagne in my hand,
Yeah, that was funny.
and dancing like a little goof.
Yeah. Isn't that kind of how you started DJing too?
Well, I started DJing when I was a kid, but I got back into it because we had part of his rider was a DDJ 600, and and we didn't have one, so I just bought one for
Right.
him.
That's what I would do.
And then it sat in my basement for like 3 months, and then my wife was like, "When are you going to start DJing for me?" And so that's when I started
That's so cool.
DJing again a lot.
Thanks, Metro Boomin.
Thanks, Metro Boomin. But he trusts me. We had a good time, and it was great.
That's really cool. That's
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah.
Those are good recommendations.
Those are my recommendations.
No downers. Good job.
Kim, where can people follow you, and is there anything in particular you'd like to plug? Since we don't have a guest.
Yeah, we don't
today.
have a guest. Don't follow me, and I have nothing to
That
plug.
is-
I mean, go wish list Rah Rah Boom on Steam. I
Yes.
definitely do that. I have something to plug.
yes, you do have
Yeah,
something to plug.
I forgot
That's
about the
that you're
thing.
plugging.
Yeah,
Always.
Oops, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? Where
but
can
don't
people
follow you on socials.
Please,
socials.
no, I'm good.
Yeah.
You can go. You can find me. No, don't even. I don't tweet. No one's on Twitter anymore.
I sadly still am.
And also, we're calling it Twitter.
Yeah,
we're
I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of, follow me on Twitter at Chris Bergman. Follow me on Insta at Bergs Makes Games. And I think those are the two places I live. I'm on Blue Sky as Bergs, just at Bergs.
Do you Blue Sky though? I'm on Blue Sky. I don't Blue Sky though.
The engagement's really low on
Yeah.
there. It's not.
I wanted something from it.
Follow at Gylee Games everywhere.
Yes.
TikTok. Our boy Drew's putting up some TikToks. We
Yeah,
started to see
they're
some
really
of those.
fun.
You'll see more of those. At Gylee Games on Insta. I think those are the main ones.
We're also on the Twitter, but again,
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of neither here nor there. And yeah, wishlist Rara Boom on Steam. And with that, thank you for sitting down and hanging out with Gylee and friends. We will have a guest next week.
yes, a really fun guest.
And if this is our first episode that we end up airing, make sure to go watch all the other episodes that we recorded. We did that for you, so you had more stuff to watch.
Yay.
And with that, have a wonderful week.
Yay.
Love you guys.
Bye.